Well, good morning. Are you surviving? I want to talk to you today about a little bit about how to survive and find our way through this wilderness that we're in. We used to sing a little song in church to the kids, "The Lord knows the way through the wilderness." Well, we've got a little wilderness this morning about the life that we're living right now in the midst of COVID and I want to talk to you about rules and about the steadfastness of God, how dependable He is, because in this day of rules changing and stipulations and regulations and restrictions, and it's hard sometimes to jump through all the hoops and to be a sensible citizen. So many things have changed recently, and therefore I spoke to my church last Sunday about the fact that we were just going to have to turn it over to God and let Him work things out, because really and truly we can't change anything. Jesus said to His own disciples, "Which one of you can change 1 cubit of your stature?" He said it's impossible. He said, "Consider the lilies. Solomon, all his glory, was not dressed like one of them." He went on to say that there's nothing we can do to change anything about us. And so we try to change a lot of things, but really and truly, it's all futile. So I want to encourage you, along with myself today, to realize that we are living in a different time, and sometimes the rules and things are a little wearisome to us. But I want to remind you that when the seat belts came into play many years ago, that was the hardest thing for me to do, to get to develop a habit of putting on the seatbelt. In fact, my wife and I would be going on a trip sometime, and we'd see a highway patrol or officer, and we forgot to put our seatbelt on, and we'd scramble to put them on. In fact, I've come closer to having a wreck putting a seatbelt on than have any other thing, I think, in my life. And so, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us are not in violation this morning and don't even know about some of the new rules and changes that they've made nowadays that we talk about. I got a little funny thing I want to share with you about seatbelts, though. Paul Harvey told this story years ago when I used to listen to him, and I'm familiar with the territory. Little Trinidad, Colorado is the last sizable town coming south out of Colorado, and Dalhart, Texas is a pretty nice town in West Texas. But about halfway between there, there's a town in New Mexico, Clayton, New Mexico. And I've been there to turn left to go to over into Mexico, so I know where it's at, and I've seen what I'm going to tell you about. There's a justice of the peace and a city marshal hangs out on that highway, and you might call it a speed trap. But anyway, they're good guys, but they patrol that. So this guy was coming out of Colorado in his pickup with the window down, his arms kind of laying up there leisurely, and he was just driving through town of Clayton, New Mexico, and he met that peace officer, and he gave that Colorado a wave of greetings and went on his way. And about that time, he realized that the guy turned around and turned his light on and stopped him. And so he pulled over, and the officer got out and walked up to the pickup, and the window was down. And he said, "Let me see your driver's license, sir." And he said, "Well, officer, I'm sorry. I didn't think I was speeding." He said, "I was just tooling along here, enjoying the scenery and admiring your cute little town here, and I was just kind of pleased with everything. And I didn't know I was violating the law." He said, "Well, really, I stopped you about your seatbelt." He said, "Oh yeah." He said, I always wear a seatbelt. I always fasten a seatbelt." Officer said, "Well, I notice you've got it fastened properly, but do you always lace it through the steering wheel like that? It looks like it'd be dangerous if you're going to turn the wheel real quick and quite a way." And he said, well, the driver said, "Well, isn't that strange? I never noticed that." Paul Harvey didn't complete the story whether he got a ticket or not, but anyway, he was caught cold. And so some of us are too, and we kind of resist the rules. But there's a little cute thing that now they say about this. In opposition, there's a little cliche that says, well, they moved the goalpost. I thought I was doing okay till they changed the rule and moved the goalpost. But I've got my own little cliche about that. I say, well, why don't you just cut your losses and bite the bullet and go on, because it's not worth the hassle of fussing and arguing, because 99% of the time you'll lose the argument anyway. But the rules are the rules. In fact, I've heard some of the clerks and merchants in the store said, I'd like this job if it wasn't for the people. And I guess all of us have given a little trouble once in a while. But I was talking to my son-in-law. He's a retired school administrator, and now he does some counseling for small schools and churches. And so he was telling me about the rules of transportation, what kind of trouble they're having trying to retrofact the vans and get them legal with the right kind of seats and everything, and seat belts, and the rules are just kind of changed, and it's caused a little hardship on some of the small schools and churches to move their students around like they want to. And so, but the rules are the rules, and so we have to do it. Sometimes we get contrary about the rules, but the person that executing the rules didn't make the rules, but they're having to enforce them, and so it just goes against the grain sometimes. But we're going to survive. Like I told the church Sunday, let's just turn it over to the Lord and pray about it, and He'll take care of us. Sparrows are pretty worthless as far as farmers concerned and people in town. The sparrows are already making messes everywhere, and they're pretty worthless. But God said that He sees every one of them that falls. He got even more specific when He said, I even know how many hairs are in your head. He said to His own disciples one day, which one of you can change your stature, even 1 cubit of your stature? He said that you can't change it. The lilies of the fields are so beautiful. Even Solomon, all his glory, was not arrayed like one of them. And yet they don't toil and they don't spin. What I'm saying is, they have to trust God, and we have to come to that place just to turn it over to the Lord and leave it up to Him. Throughout this Bible, all generations have had their problems. They've had their different things come, plagues. They've had all kinds of detrimental things, but they cried out to God. They prayed. Sometimes He answered quickly. Sometimes He just gave them a remedy. I remember when the death angel was to pass over, He told them, if you'll kill a sacrificial lamb, have a feast and put the blood over the doorpost and the lintel, the death angel will pass over your house and your children will not die. They did, and God did. Now we have a remedy now. He said, if my people, which are called by name, will humble themselves and pray, I'll heal their land. I will. If they'll do all that, turn from the wicked ways, I'll heal their land. So He's left us a solution, and we have the rules that we need to follow. So I want to encourage you this morning to trust the Lord and just turn it over to Him and pray about it and let Him take care of us, because He will. I have a little formula I told you before: so what, whatever, and nevertheless. So that's what I'm saying to you this morning. So what? The pickle that we're in, and do whatever you can, but you may not can change it, but you can accept it and let God take care of it. You see, God, He doesn't change. In Psalms 90, David said, even before the world was formed, from everlasting to everlasting, Thou art God. Hebrews 13:8 said, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15:54, therefore be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Just like God is concerned about stability and firm foundations and His steadfastness, He wants us to be the same. Paul said to Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 19, therefore the foundation of the Lord standeth sure, and having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are hid. I told you, He knows all about us. He knows where we are. He knows how to take care of us. He knows how to care for us. We're not lost sheep. He knows all about it. We're the sheep of his pasture, and he is the good shepherd, and he will take care of us. He will help us. Well, through all this change and everything, and moving the goalpost and biting the bullet and accepting it, cutting their losses and accepting and being through submission, it's okay. I want to leave you with a little story that happened to me this week, and it's true to life, and I think you might relate to it too. We have an older lady in our church, and she's getting much older. She's 90 years old. She weighs 85 pounds. She's very old, and she's very feeble. So we're concerned about her for the winter time, and already she's having a hard time getting off of her little porch and down the steps and out the walkway to the street to get her mail out of the big post office box out there on the street. So we come up with an idea that I put a post office box at her door on the wall. I added some handles so she could step up on the 2 steps and be careful, because she's getting older and she's getting more feeble, and we kind of help her in and out of the car and those things. And so we just thought it would be good to get her mail brought to her door. So I took her last week to the post office to get them to change her mail from the street to her door. And they gave me a piece of paper and said, no, we can't do that, but if you'll take this piece of paper, this form, over to the main post office and see what they can do for you. So we went over to the main post office in Broken Arrow, and I explained to them the situation. They said, well, all that's well and good, but we can't do that. You have to fill out this form, and you have to get a doctor to sign it and bring it back to us, and then we'll get it approved. And, it irked us a little bit, but being Christians, as we both were, we accepted that and was decent about it and went on our way, realizing that we lost that little battle, but we have to submit and be right. So you have to have a doctor. You can't just get old on your own. You can't just get feeble on your own. And just because your neighbor thinks you're old and feeble, that don't count. You have to have a doctor to tell you when you get old. So that's one of the rules. And so, so it bothers me, and it may bother you, but I'm going to submit, and I'm going to play with the rules, and we will get, we'll have, Jesus said, I'll give you peace. You may get harassment from this world. In fact, Jesus said in John chapter 16, verse 33, he said, in this world you'll have tribulation. But he said, be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. So you and I have God on our side. And if we'll be decent and be Christian, we'll have peace. We'll be happy. We'll live happy ever after. We'll finish this life in good form. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me today. Unless we are survivors. Thank you and amen. Bless you.